Is Lordknightmon 2 a rogue deck in BT7? Let's talk about it? What's up, Tamers? Welcome back to the other decks. My name's Casual Dobo, and today is something I didn't think I'd ever do, ever. I'm talking about Lordknightmon. Now, I played in the BT5 meta where Lordknightmon absolutely dominated the whole entire scene. It's a pain in the butt, to be honest. And so, I find myself a little shocked to even think that Lordknightmon is a rogue deck in this new format. However, since Lordknightmon's time in BT5, we've gotten a lot more powerful things in the meta. I mean, just take a look at the Bond decks, Jessamon, and then in BT7, we have all these hybrids come now. So it kind of feels okay. Like I can actually talk about Lordknightmon now. Because no one wants to build a traditional Digivolving deck. But if you are going to, that's kind of rogue, that's kind of against meta. Lordknightmon 2 Electric Boogaloo might actually be the deck for you. And I promise that name actually has some meaning and some implication here. But in BT7, we are given a couple new options that can kind of help us play around the 3 security synergy that was already pretty prevalent in yellow, I would say. But there's some new cards in here that make it really, really awesome to have 3 security cards. And so we're going to try and play in that sweet spot and get a lot of value out of it. But before we jump into the actual deck profile, I just wanted to say thank you so much for everyone who watches these things. Our subscriber count is growing exponentially. Pretty sure we're almost at 200. Hey there, Editor Adobo here, and I just wanted to drop in and say thank you, really. Because at the time of recording, which was about 2 weeks ago, because I do batch file these, we were under 200 subscribers. Since then, the channel has had a bit of a mini explosion, and we are currently up to 321, which is insane to me. The BT7 meta deck list video that I put out maybe a couple weeks ago is up to 3,000 viewers, which is incredible. I'm actually like super blown away by it. Thank you for everyone who watches these videos, subscribes to the channel, doesn't subscribe to the channel, but is just like casually watching. I really appreciate everyone who's interacted with me in the comments, interacted by just watching this stuff. It's an incredible feeling to have. So thank you. I will say, if you do enjoy this content, feel free to like this video, subscribe to the channel. We do have something very awesome coming out that I'm actually going to be recording today. That's going to be a series of videos. I'm super excited about it. It kind of fits in with the channel theme. It fits in with Digimon. It'll be BT7 related, so it's still relevant, but in a different way than you might think. So I'm super excited about this project. It's the first sort of big project that we have for this channel. And really I'm doing this as a sort of thank you for everyone who is interacting, and hopefully you get something out of it. Hopefully you think it's fun. It's exciting. And I think it should open up some cool things and some cool Jesus, I can speak. Some cool projects down the line. So without further ado, I'm going to skip this part because I have the power. I am the editor. I'm going to skip all the other things I was going to say anyway in this video, in this intro, and then let's just hop right into the deck profile. Alright, and so here we are at the deck profile, and we're going to start off with the Digitama, like we always do. So, for our Digi-Eggs, we have 4 copies of Pulsemon. So when attacking once per turn, if we have 3 or fewer security cards, trigger draw 1. This is just really good synergy to have because at some point, whether it's with our champions, our ultimates, our megas, we are going to be attacking. And like I said, we're trying to get into that sweet spot of 3 security cards and stay there, hopefully. So Pulsemon should have the ability to draw some cards pretty consistently. And I went with 4 Digitama as opposed to 5 just because I want the consistency. However, if you wanted to put a 5th one in here, I think it's Pikmon, the Starmon Digi-Egg. is a good one that says if you have 3 Digimon on field, when attacking, I believe, minus 1000. So that one's a good one to have, but I do want the consistency of Upamon. Next, going into our rookies, we do have 2 copies of Bushiagumon. It has Rush. Sure, 5 play costs, kinda high, but if we play our deck correctly, ideally, we're not playing it for 5. If you've played a Lordknightmon before, you know. And then going into our next rookie, we do have 4 copies of Starmons on play for each Digimon you have in play. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 DP for a turn. So the whole point of this deck and most Lordknightmon decks is to swarm the board. And so once you have swarmed the board, once you've sort of established that, these Starmons for 3 to play become very dangerous, very fast. But that is not the only archetype we're playing in this deck. We do have the Pulsemon lines. So we have 2 copies of BT6 Pulsemon that says on play. We can trash cards from our security stack until there's only 3 left and then gain a memory from each. So technically, if you have a full stack, you can play this for 1, which is pretty awesome. But you go into 3, which, you know, obviously yellow wants to be there. Still a little scary, still a little intimidating to go down to 3, especially if it's early on and you don't have your board quite as set up as you'd like. However, when you do have 3 security cards, and this is exactly 3 as inheritable, this Digimon does gain jamming. And you'll see that where that comes into play later on. Next up, we do have 3 copies of BT7 Pulsemon that says when attacking, once per turn, if we have 3 security cards, and this is exactly 3, gain 2 memory. Now you're probably looking at this and being like, where are those other promo Pulsemons that have some pretty good synergy? Admittingly, I didn't put it in here just because I know they're still expensive. If you have them, if you want to put them in there, I would say replace the BT7 Pulsemons with those, and you're good to go. But yeah, those things are still ungodly expensive. Rounding out our rookies, we do have 3 copies of Salamon. So this says when attacking once per turn, if we have 3 or more security cards, we can draw 1. So I'd say this rookie works really well with some of our champions because we are a little bit more aggressive with our champions, especially if we know we're playing a rookie rush opponent. But this gives us an opportunity to draw early on in the game when we're still, you know, at pretty much full security. So 3 copies of Salamon. Moving on to our champions, do have 3 copies of Turimon, and this is just our 1 cost to Digivolve champion. The main strategy that we want to get into in this deck profile is getting into our megas, and so skipping the champion step is pretty nice. However, our other champions are here to do a little bit more damage. So we have 2 copies of BT6 Bulkmon, and he says on our turn, if we have 3 or more security, this Digimon gains security attack +1. So if you combine that with the other Pulsemon that we highlighted earlier that gives jamming, you could potentially have 2 jamming hits at the champion level, which is awesome. Doesn't protect against security control or security effects. However, because we're going into the BT7 meta, there's not a whole lot of problematic security options that people are playing with, just because security control is falling out of favor, essentially. Our next champion is 2 copies of Apemon, and so Apemon's really good because he has high DP, 8000 DP for a champion. So it's just kind of wild. While he doesn't have any real effects, it's just still a really good swing, especially if we're playing against Rookie Rush. Generally, their security tends to be on the weaker, lower DP side of things. And then rounding out our champions, we have 3 copies of Bulkmon again, but this one is from BT7, and this has the inheritable on our opponent's turn. While we have 3 or more security, this Digimon gains blocker. So lots of keywords if we're in that sweet spot of 3 security. However, if we go lower than that, then we don't. But you'll see later on there is an ultimate or a mega that kind of at least gives us this for a single turn. Going into our ultimates, do have 2 copies of Angelwomon. This says when digivolving, one of our opponent's Digimon gains a security attack -2, which is good to just stall out a little bit. But the main reason we have this here is for its inheritable. When attacking, if you have 3 or fewer security cards, you can play 1 yellow level 3 Digimon from your hand without paying the memory cost. So we can use our Bushi here, we can use our Starmons. There's a lot of rookies that we have available that do some pretty awesome things on play. And even if we don't have those in hand, any of our rookies will be good just to swarm the board. Next up, we do have 3 copies of Knightmon on play. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 4,000 DP for the turn, and this is good synergy with Lordknightmon, which if you've ever played a Lordknightmon, you sure know about Knightmon. And then rounding out our ultimates, we do have 4 copies of Boutmon from BT7. So we have the full Pulsemon line here, and then opponent's turn, when your opponent's Digimon attacks the player, if you have 3 or more security, unsuspend this Digimon. So this works really well in synergy with the blocker Bulkmon that we have hopefully underneath of it. And like I said, our Mega, which you can kind of see peeking out over to the side over there, he guarantees that you're going to have these inheritables at least once during the game, and you'll see why in a bit. Next up, going into our Megas, we do have 4 copies of Lordknightmon. So when attacking, you can play a yellow level 3 Digimon or a yellow Digimon with Warrior in its type from your hand without paying its memory cost. So that does cover all of our rookies, and that does cover our level 5 Knightmon. And then on all turns, for each other Digimon you have in play, this Digimon gains plus 1000 DP, which, you know, if you let Lordknightmon get too crazy, it becomes very problematic in the DP department. And then for our last Mega, and the Mega I've been alluding to this whole time, do have 2 copies of Kazuchimon. So when digivolving, if you have 3 more security cards, you do gain 2 memory, which is, you know, you're digivolving into this for 3. But if you have 2 or fewer security, you can recover it until you get 3. So this is a good way that if you're behind on security, you can do a little bit of recovery and then get into that sweet spot. Or if you are at 3 when digivolving, you know, gain the memory, and then you have, you know, all of your inheritables open and available. And then also on your turn, while you have 3 or more security, this Digimon does gain security attack plus 1, which is nice. So if you have the full proper stack in there, you could get security attack plus 1, blocker, jamming, and then on your opponent's turn, unsuspend, which is wild, because you can essentially block twice with Kazuchimon, or swing in on your turn and then unsuspend so you can block your opponent once. Either way, Kazuchimon is very solid in order to get us into that 3 security space. So that's it for our Digimon, but moving over to our options, we do have 2 copies of Blinding Ray, trash top card in our security, then gain 2 memory. So obviously the memory part is nice, but this does help us get into the sweet spot for 3 security, and then kind of enables a lot of our other plays. And then for 0 play cost is very nice. Next up, we do have 1 copy of Spiral Masquerade, just because I didn't feel right making a Lordknightmon deck without having this in here. But this says, for each Digimon we have in play, activate the following effect. One of our opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for the turn. Also, security is activate this main card's effect. So if we are successful in storming our board with a bunch of Digimon for 4 cost to play, this hits very hard. Do have 1 copy of Reinforced Memory Boost, which says reveal top 2, and then we can decide which one to put into our security and which one to put into hand. And then does have delay gain 3 memory, so not on the turn it plays, but on subsequent turns we can sacrifice it in order to gain our 3 memory. Moving on, we do have 2 copies of Wyvern's Breath, 8 cost to play, but this is essentially Yellow's version of Gaia Force, maybe arguably a little better. One of our opponent's Digimon gets minus 15,000 DP for the turn. There's not a whole lot that can survive minus 5,000 or 15,000 DP. And then our last option card, and kind of the electric in Electric Boogaloo, is 2 copies of Electric Rush. So the main ability is one of our Digimon gets plus 3,000 DP for a turn. Then if we have 3 security cards, we can unsuspend one of our Digimon. So the way that this would work is, you know, you swing in with Lordknightmon, get, you know, your rookies or whatever you want to use for those abilities out into the field. Then for 2, unsuspend Lordknightmon essentially. And because Lordknightmon's ability is not once per turn, you can summon more things onto the field for only 2 memory. This is essentially I was gonna say a weaker version of Dimension Scissor, but the fact that it's yellow within a yellow deck means that it has inherent synergies. So probably a better Dimension Scissor. You know me, I love Dimension Scissor. I try and put in everything, but I'll admit that Electric Rush better for this particular strategy. And then rounding out the deck profile, 3 copies of TK. This is our starter TK, or not starter, this is our Memory Tamer TK. And then on play, we can look at the stack, reveal a card if it's yellow. We recovery +1. Yeah, we only run 3 tamers in here, which is absolutely wild for a BT7 deck. But that is the deck profile. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about this deck. Do you think this can compete with some of the hybrid decks that we have out there? Is this a good upgrade for you Lordknightmon players? For the people who weren't Lordknightmon players and remember Lordknightmon, do you regret watching this video? Let me know in the comments below. Would love to hear from you. And while you're down there, please like the video if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel so you can check out some of the other videos I have. I swear to God, there's no other Lordknightmons. Actually, this might be our first yellow deck other than the 3 BT7 meta decks we did a couple weeks ago. But I think this could be fun. I really love the Pulsemon line, and that's pretty much why I made this deck. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And tamers, don't forget to go rogue. I'll catch you all in the next video.